Welcome to the second episode of the Data Hiring Talks podcast, where we talk about best practices of organizations as well as data professionals to have a strong and effective data team. For this episode, we would like to show you a different perspective of the challenges that some organizations are facing, especially when it comes to building a strong data team. Our special guest for today is a data engineer, one of the most in demand roles nowadays. Martijn, welcome.
Thank you, Vincent.
Hey Martijn, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your experience as a data engineer?
Yes, of course. So I started my professional career as a automation engineer, actually. So not within IT, um, but I noticed that I missed the lack of business value, creating business value. So I went back to school to finish my master's and work towards some digital-driven business. So I started the my experience with a consulting company, which gave me the possibility to look within multiple companies. Um, did some data warehouse engineering, working from ingestion to reporting and everything in between. Developed some CI/CD for the release processes and for using DevOps, and also doing some data modeling jobs to design pipelines.
How many different organizations have you indirectly or directly worked for now with data engineering?
Three
What,
different organizations.
three organizations, so you know a little bit how different types of organizations are doing it. It's cool. I specifically invited you because after talking to you before, I think you have a very nice outlook on how the market is changing right now, and I see a whole generation of younger data professionals that don't want to be working like the people that have been doing it, how traditionally has been done. And I want to zoom in today a little bit more. But what are the biggest trends in the market that you have seen as a data engineer, maybe in the last year?
Yeah, so to start off with the different data engineering definitions, a lot of companies, organizations, or even books or literature define data engineering as something that's completely different from other companies. So the definition is very vague, which also requires candidates as for me and hiring managers to really dig out what they want within a person, and
Yeah.
that usually comes down to looking at skills specifically.
Okay.
Well, that's something that's very important. I don't think that's the main problem we're facing.
Yeah.
So that's something on the hiring part. Also, when we look at the tech side, we had big data a few years ago, which was the most hot item. Everyone wanted big data, not really knowing why. And now we're getting back to that. We tell ourselves that we still need data modeling, we need some data governance, we need data management, and that's that's circling back around as well.
Yeah, I recognize that also from a recruitment perspective. If somebody says I need a data engineer, I always ask, or a data scientist. That's even vaguer term right now. What do you want him to do? What are the kind of things that you want to accomplish with this person? And then you get a much more clear picture of what it actually is that they need. And sometimes they want something, but the environment is not even ready for it. And then so they ask for a data engineer, but maybe they need like a somebody cleaning the data first, or and yeah, it's I think for many organizations that's the first step. But like yourself, you are now working as a freelancer, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And you go basically that means that you find your own jobs, you find your organizations that you want to work for. What type, what is it that you're looking for when you find or when you're searching for a new job? How do you find it? What is the deciding factor in choosing a new job for you?
Yeah, so the kind of depends on the organization as well, but usually the technology stack is very important, not only because they're the technologies you want to use, but also it displays the vision that the company has on growing and on the future and how technologies can help them with them. Also the integration of the engineering process within the company. Some companies use data engineering as a separate side, so IT is like separated from business.
Mhm.
And some companies really integrate them and see how they can deliver value combining those two parts of the
Do you have a
company.
preference there?
Yes, I definitely do. I don't say it's my vision, so it's not.
So what do you prefer?
I prefer a combined
Okay.
work field, so that we have also the expertise of the business, and then as a consultant, as a freelancer, or someone working as a data engineer, I think it's very important to know what business value you're delivering,
Mhm.
instead of just applying the best technologies but not really knowing where you want to go.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is the first one is the amount of things you can learn, and the second one is how they have organized their data department. That's where you look for
Yes.
when you find a new job. Not a rate, or is that only comes later?
Yeah, it comes later. Also, it's not the most important thing. I think having a good way to grow, and also being able to have impact on the business itself is way more important than the actual rate you're being hired for.
Okay. And do you always look for full-time jobs or flexibility? Are these parts important for you?
Yes, definitely. I think that during these times when especially the scarcity of data engineers, it's I think it's vital to look for people that are a best fit to your vacancy, and not stop looking because of you want to see them 3 times a week, or you want to have them come over every now and then. I think that really limits your possibilities of building a great data team. So I think that working online and having a good process of what a data engineer needs to do and how he delivers value can really give you the opportunity to extend the people that you're hiring.
So, but from your perspective, what would be ideal? Would you like to be working full-time remote?
Yes, I would. Yes, but it's very hard to find a job that's completely remote.
Okay. But also, I
Always.
see a lot of people who actually like going to the office as well.
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
have to have a balance, but preferably for you specifically, you rather work from home all the time.
Yes, because it gives
And
you
why
so
is
much
that?
freedom.
Yeah, it gives you freedom. Okay.
Yeah, it's
Is it,
maybe a bit broad, but it can you for example, you can combine it with getting to know the world,
okay.
right? Traveling or something, and if you can just be in any environment instead of your own home environment, I think it also sparks your creativity as well.
So if I now get you a job for 12 months, completely remote, what would you do? Where would you go?
That's a tough one. I would go to the South European parts, I think, like Spain or Italy, and work from there. Yeah.
Yeah, same time zone. It works.
Yeah.
Might and also the cost of living usually is cheaper. So
Yeah. True. Yeah.
even with a lower rate, you would still be living having the same standard of life, I guess.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so that could be an interesting. Um, like, do you think clients or organizations would be more open to accommodate this if they would pay a little bit less, or do you think that's not a factor?
That's a good question.
Or the other way, like, would you accept a lower rate if that meant working full remote?
Well, I think yes, of course, because the amount that you need to facilitate is also it's a bit lower.
Yeah,
The Netherlands is expensive in that case.
yeah.
So yes, of course.
Okay, and
Yeah.
and and I can imagine that Eastern Europe or Southern Europe is still not that cheap. But if you would go, for example, to Bali or But then you have the time difference problem maybe that. How do you look at things like time difference? Do you feel like you need to be working at the same time as your client, or would you work more on result based, so that you at the end of the week you say, well, this is what I deliver? What do you think?
Yeah, so I think it works best if everyone is on the same time zone, but it also has to have a shift in how the team works, in how the team
Hmm.
operates. If you have user stories or specifically on what needs to be delivered and when,
Yeah.
then it shouldn't matter whether you're doing that in Asia or in America.
Okay.
So when your process is that clean, you can definitely work from anywhere, and you just have to really make the most efficient communication on the times that you have an overlap with your
Yeah.
whole team. So that
Uh,
requires some changes, yes.
I'm also sometimes in talk with organizations that say, well, we don't mind people working full remote, but we need to see them in the office and get to know them a little bit. So, for example, if you would be able to work full remote 3 months of the year, and the other time you will be working, for example, half from home or 2 days in the office, is that something that is interesting as well, or would you like to travel really 12 months?
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely it's my opinion that I want to travel, but maybe there's some other people that have a loved one over across the world. I'm not sure. So everyone has
Ah,
their
yeah,
own
yeah,
reasons, but I think that having the discussion about what's the best for them, that can definitely help you find the right people.
yeah. Okay, well, interesting. And did you ever leave a role early, like in a job where you said, "Well, this is too much for me. This is really, I cannot work like this. I'm like this. I'm gonna find another job."
Yes, I have. Yes.
Oh, tell
Yeah.
me about
So
it.
um, when we started, when I started the assignment, it was mentioned that we're doing a few things right now, and we're having a few things that are really short and that are coming soon, right?
Yeah,
Coming soon. We've heard that a lot. And then from coming soon, it was always when is it? When is prioritized? No, not yet. We first have to finish this and this, and then
yeah,
nothing. Next thing, and it just kept getting postponed. And that was the project that I was looking forward to. Getting
yeah,
to know
yeah,
the company and then rolling into that new project, and that just kept being postponed. So
yeah.
then I had to say, am I going to wait a few months more without any possibilities of it happening, or am I just going to find a new challenge?
Do you see a difference in needs between the older generation and the new generation of data professionals, of what they want, how they act?
Mm, Yeah, it's a tough question as well. The needs are definitely different. I think that the older generation really comes from a conceptual understanding of what you're building, and therefore they require why do you want it this way, and they can really stand, make most critic questions. And for the younger generation, or the newer generation, I should say, it's usually, as long as the technology you're using is used there, or uh, there's hot technologies being used right now, or it's cloud or something
Yeah,
specific, that's enough, because that's what you want on your resume, as we're really focused on what is your skill. Your skill is a certain technology or a language, and if you have that, you're very important to the company, um, or for new roles as well. So I think that's a big difference, that the older engineers, or the more experienced ones, are really looking at the conceptual thinking, and the newer generation is really focused on the technology and the
okay.
physical part.
Okay. Well, and also, I think technology is changing very quickly. So the experience you have from 10 years ago doesn't really help you that much today. So how much does your experience actually help you? I know, like, if you know coding, you know coding, right? And you can actually easily learn new languages. Sometimes it doesn't really matter. Also, if you're more interested in technology, it's sometimes it's just tools, and they are there to support you, and you shouldn't be completely reliant on one. And there's going to be new tool next year that is going to be making the old tool, the tool of today, obsolete. So what is your thought on that?
Yeah, so I think that's very important point you're making. When we look at an engineer or a consultant in general, you really want someone that can deliver business value. You have a problem as a business, and you think your solution lies within the data engineering side, and then you need a data engineer who can fit to that business problem and create a solution. And I think that requires way more understanding of data engineering itself than just knowing, oh, I have to write a code in Python and that's it. So I think the main important is that we focus on what is the project that you're building, how can you translate this business problem into technology and into technical solutions, and not really focused on, okay, you have Python and now you don't know what to do from there. It's not that if you know code, you know the conceptual thinking of a whole data warehouse or a data pipeline. So I think it's very important that we focus on what are you building and not how are you building it.
Yes, I think that's interesting as well. But how does that relate to the thing you said before about conceptual versus tool?
Yeah, so that was the younger and older generation. I think that it's important that we not say we need a data engineer that can build code in Python, but we need a data engineer that can, I don't know what the requirements would be, but we have a new data source, we want to connect that to our reporting, and we want to have that run daily. Those are the requirements that you need as a business. And then let the engineer decide what the best, or the architect, let them decide what the best technology is to fit that problem, because that's what they're best at.
Yeah, and what do you think is the most important skill for a data engineer?
Yeah, I would even say problem solving in general, as it can help you both on the communication side and the technology side.
Yeah.
I think that's the core skill that's the most important.
Okay, interesting. I think problem solving, of course, is a great skill for most people to have instead of presenting problems, which also happens a lot. Hey, and if you let's say you work for an organization, what do you expect from them, and specifically from your manager?
From the company itself, I think that it's very important that they have a vision of where they want to go, and not just using data engineers because it's the hot topic.
Yeah.
You have to have a vision on what you want to do with data engineering. How do you want to make more data assets, create data products? It's so much more than just saying, oh, I want a report, I just need someone to gather some data and put it in a report. So
you often see organizations that lack vision, and they just make like quick solutions like reports or like dashboards,
right,
with not a bigger thing in mind.
yes, and data is not magic. Like you can create a lot of insights based on what you have, but you need to have the data first, and you have to have a strategy how you continuing to use that data or adding new data sources, and what's the actual business value that you want to create from the data. I think that's very tough one, and it's not something that you can just decide on. Oh, we're going to use big data and we're going to be the next Facebook or whatever. It's not going to be that easy, and I think that's something that is being hoped for and wished for a lot.
Do you think that's where the majority of organizations are now, in that phase where they are making data, actually creating data management, data governance, maybe master data management, and starting to think more about how do we collect more data? What is our strategy for the next years?
Yeah, I think a lot of companies are working on that as well, but I think there are a lot of companies just keep working from business processes as well, and then trying to facilitate their needs within data instead of just implementing data or IT as being their main source of business, and then working your business cases around that.
Yeah, because in their defense, you do see a lot of the times it gets too theoretical, right? If you have you want to have the perfect strategy and everything needs to be perfect, but so much more you see that you learn by doing and by grabbing the low-hanging fruits, by making some interesting business cases or use cases just to create something small that can lead to a lot of insights, and that might even change your complete strategy just by doing.
Definitely, and that's a great first step, and then you have to keep going and not saying, okay, that we're using data now and that's it, because that's just the start, and it can get you so much more.
So that's what you see. So you see people or organizations starting great, and then they just stick with the dashboards that they have, and then they don't stop developing, and then they're basically stuck, or they will go backwards actually.
Yes.
Okay, and so from a manager, how would you like to be managed?
The technical skills.
The less management, the better, or?
No, I don't think less management. I think that it requires some trust from both sides. If I deliver everything that's required on the user stories, for example, within time, then it should be monitored somewhere, and then the manager can see if I'm doing great. Maybe that I need some more schooling on some parts. Maybe it's even the business itself that I need to know more. I think that also that can be managed with data itself, and that would be great if we just work on a way that we can facilitate our monitoring for our teams as well. I think that's a great start for implementing that in a business.
Well, that's of course a great answer from a data engineer. Like, let's use data to manage. So,
of course.
Yeah, I guess your trait, you have to say that, of course, and I think it should always be. It's a good thing to have data, and you definitely use it and make it a combination.
Yes.
But you said something interesting as well, schooling, because you are a freelancer. And what I see is that a lot of organizations don't really invest that much in their external people, right?
That's true. Yeah.
They expect you to do the job they came in, and schooling you should do in your own time.
Yeah, obviously. That's
so how do you see that? So ideally you would be included in that as well, but do you see that with organizations that they include you?
Yes, especially when they're having processes when that's suited for the whole team, and not just they're trying to explore some new kind of data science kind of thing. Then they just want their internal colleagues to figure that out. But if the whole team if there's a new thing, like we are going to implement cloud technology and everyone needs to know what it's about, then they also include me, because it's for a short term. It requires the external people to be informed as well.
And how does that make you feel?
Yeah, I think it's you can't go around it, because you
do
really
you like it? Do you like to be included like that, or do you think, well, just let me?
No, I like to be included, obviously.
Yeah,
because I
if
like
you're more part of the
well.
team, maybe. I don't just guessing here.
Definitely.
I guess that if you feel more part of the team, you might even do a better job. You enjoy it more. You might even spend more hours with the team, and eventually do a better job, maybe.
Yes.
Versus if you don't like your job, and of course, if you spend more time with people, you get to know them better. You do more for them. You are able to sacrifice more because you build a relationship.
Yes, of course, it's a two-sided relationship. Yes.
Yeah, and that's why I also think it can be interesting for managers to definitely include externals. And maybe it's also because if you ask the external, like, would you, for those learning times, not write the hours, or at least half the hours, then it's always getting a discussion. So then you see how much is worth to them, right?
Definitely.
But I guess on the other hand, you don't ask people that you pay on a salary to do it in their free time either. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
exactly. Other question. What are your thoughts on? I think I covered it. Fully remote or for working from another country. We talked about this a little bit before. You would love to have that opportunity, and I think people definitely between the age of 20, 25 maybe and 35. Right now they are educated people and they want to see more of the world. And I think more than ever it's possible now, especially because everybody's working on their laptop and in the
Yeah.
cloud. Secondly, because COVID, they showed that it actually can work, and yeah, I think many people are changing that way. You still see organizations that are stuck with drawing people into in the office, and they want you there 5 days a week. And if we don't see you, you're not working. But I see less and less of that, and I think that's a very good thing that came out of it. And I think most people would agree. But now we are looking for an hybrid way, and I think organizations are still not comfortable with, especially freelancers, with having them join a team completely remote. But on the other hand, it does offer big opportunities, because if you are able to facilitate people who will never be in the office, you can also reach out to the whole world. You can get people from South Africa or India or where whatever. You can get people from everywhere, and it will increase your market a lot, because we have a big shortage of good people, and it might even allow you to get 2 data engineers for the price of one Dutch data engineer, and maybe there is not even the Dutch engineer. So yeah, I think those are good things that have happened. There's actually not a question there anymore right now. Just added that. So the last, maybe one of the last questions is, where do you see the market going from now, and what advice can you give to other data engineers, and maybe also to data organizations moving forward?
Yeah, so I think the first thing would be that we definitely go to a more remote kind of working, and that also requires our organization to have more faith in working from remotely with people all across the world,
Hmm.
having multicultural ways of working. I think that's definitely where we're heading.
Okay.
So
From a technical perspective, where do you think we're going?
I think that cloud is definitely not leaving anytime soon. I
No.
think we're definitely we're going back to some more data management kind of things, like I mentioned as well. That with big data, we just thought let's dump it all in a data lake and create dashboards on it. And now we're coming back to our really requiring some structure and how is our lineage. And when we're asking ourselves that question, then maybe lakes weren't the best solution, so we're going to lake houses now, building a bit more structure, defining that. And also the regulators are requiring more and more information on how we're doing the processes and knowing where your data comes from. So I
Yeah.
think that we're going a bit back to some more structured, but definitely more in the cloud, more um,
Yeah, and maybe also multi-cloud, right? Because I think it used to be that everybody was looking for one solution and tried to get everything there, and now I see them using different, maybe even AWS and Azure and even other clouds, Google, everything combined.
yeah. So usually you would have like AWS, and you would have everything from AWS, and you host
Yeah,
everything in there. But I think they also noticed that companies who were all already using part of the Microsoft stack, they also want a part of the of that company. So they're
yeah,
really integrating other cloud providers as well. So they're leaving every company the possibility to use the function out of which cloud provider you want,
yeah.
and then just have easy migration between the two of them.
Yeah, and if you're working with clients and you work with suppliers, it's easier to connect your clouds if you have the same cloud, for example, but also between different clouds. It's getting easier with APIs and other connections to make. I think everything has become easier to connect. That's
Yes.
what it comes down to. And also, you don't have to pay like one price. It's more about usage, and
Exactly.
that changes the whole thing, of course.
Absolutely. It's a great
Um,
way of pricing. Yeah.
and then the other question: what advice can you give the new data engineers?
Yeah. So for the data engineers, I would say try to figure out the conceptual models like the older generation already has. Find a way of why is the infrastructure the way it is and what are the requirements for the infrastructure, and then from then start to learn your technologies and tools to actually work towards that infrastructure. You always know why you're choosing the technology, so you know you're using the best thing that there's out there on this at this moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you have like a few tips like which tools are you using to or which websites or which forums are what are you reading or how do you stay up to date on your latest knowledge?
Yeah.
How do you update
So,
yourself?
so I think data engineering is especially large in America, USA, and they're already thinking more of from a data engineering perspective. So I'd really advise getting to know, reading more books about it. There are a lot of interesting books about the definitions of data engineering or the fundamentals of it, and really how the world is looking at data engineers. And then you get a conceptual understanding of what a data engineer has to do within a company and
Mhm.
is expected to do. And also listening to podcasts. Obviously, there are a lot of very interesting individuals that have podcasts and multiple. You can go for technologies, you can go for governance, you can go to a whole company that translates to data engineering principles. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff to learn from other people. So I definitely advise to listen to podcasts and read books
Good.
about it.
Okay, well, last tip. Do you have a tip for organizations that want to hire data engineers?
Yeah, so learn to look behind the technology. What is
I guess
the
it's a summary of the whole conversation.
Yes, I guess.
Don't make it. I need all the tools that we're using that everybody has experience with it. Look a little bit further, and you might get an interesting match that is even better than what you were looking for. I
Definitely.
wanna I wanna thank you, Martijn, for being a guest in this episode. We appreciate your time and the learnings you shared with us today. And thank you, everybody, for listening to us. Remember to follow me on LinkedIn at Vincent Spruit, where I also share insights on hiring data professionals. Thank you so much, and
Thank you so much.
have a good afternoon.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you. Bye bye.